Welcome everyone to Gemcast Live. As a special treat today, we have a Soulfire reading from Bean's story, which I personally know nothing about, so I'm going to be excited. Without further ado, let's bring in the writer, Bean. Could you introduce the story a little bit to us? Like, what would you have us know before the reading itself?
Well, my story follows Winona, and she lives in a walled-off city called Lenovia. Um, the king essentially teaches that everything outside the walls is a wasteland and nothing survives except monsters that sometimes make it into the city. Uh, to keep people safe, everybody's taught to worship this god, and magic is completely outlawed. If someone's suspected of using it, they're executed publicly by removing the magic user's heart. And the government justifies it all by saying that any evil in the city is because someone used magic and went against their god. Um, it's based heavily on the city feels there's a lingering sense of danger, and it also feels really controlled. Um, because they've been taught to be scared. Uh, eventually, um, something pretty violent happens to Winona that breaks the sense of certainty she's had her whole life and kind of becomes a catalyst that starts a chain of events that forces her to focus on things that don't add up. Um, she starts questioning everything, the rules, the fear, the way the city handles things, all of it. And the more she questions, the worse it gets because it feels like there's something really wrong underneath everything else. It's also a slow burn romance with Malik, who ends up being really important to her, but he's super guarded and pretty cocky. Um, and Winona struggles with trusting people. Um, so it gets pretty complicated throughout the story. Um, yeah, it's basically about what happens when you realize that the thing you've trusted your entire life might not be true. Um, and what that does to you when you can't ignore that anymore.
All right, that's a very thorough introduction. All right, like Soulfire, we are ready whenever you are.
Right, I'm supposed to share my screen if I remember correctly. Find out when I'm sharing.
Okay.
Yeah, for those that want to read along. A loud clang jolted me awake, my head pounding violently. The smell of vomit permeated the air, stomach churning, sat up slowly. I rubbed the back of my neck, trying to loosen up the tight muscles. The bench I was asleep on didn't help with the headache. This hangover was brutal. Wait, bench? Where was Soup? Why wasn't he meowing at me for food? Where was I? What happened last night? I rubbed my eyes, feeling disoriented. Eyes bleary. I took in my surroundings. The walls were bars? Metal bars? Well, fuck. Jail. I was in jail. What did I do last night? The hangover was telling enough. The last thing I remember was taking a shot of I gave a liquor at the shade. Ren told me not to, but I did it anyway. You're finally up, a raspy voice said. I was getting worried you weren't going to wake up. I turned my head to see the person in the cell next to mine. She was older. Grey, choppy hair framed her face, and her eyes were sad, mouth turned up in a smile regardless of the circumstance. My eyes darted to the mark branded on her neck. Two swords crossed together, cross of Tollum behind them. Magic wielder. She was marked for death. My heart picked up its pace, unease sliding through me, causing my stomach to churn once more. I couldn't tell if it was the raging hangover or her empathetic magic controlling me right now. She needed to stay away from me. I believe she caught the fear in my eyes because her face fell. I get it, she said in a sad voice. I would be wary too if I were made to believe magic. I put as much space between us as possible, trying not to gag as my stomach. The woman tucked her knees to her chest and lay her head against her arms, her hair covering her face. Her execution would likely take place. Her heart carved from her body. The heart was where the empath magic was stored. It'd be burned at the pyre in King Raha's palace chapel, purify the soul and hope Column would accept the veil. Otherwise, void. A sliver of remorse for her crept into me. It was a terrible way to die. But magic only brought destruction and devastation. I took a breath to steady myself, calm my frantic heart. The smell of vomit still so strong in my cell, causing me to gag once more. That must be my puke I can smell. I wish a guard would come around and tell me why I'm in. Ren will likely check on Soup and feed him, leaving me in here to think about my actions for a day. Fuck. I really didn't want to spend another night in the cell. Ren was my best friend. She certainly didn't coddle me when I messed up. She made me really feel the consequences of my actions. She must be. I hope I didn't cause too much of a problem with her. I'll make it up to her somehow. The sound of boots pounding against the stone floor echoed through the cell. Maybe I'll finally get some answers. Keys jingled at the door that separated me from freedom, and in walked a guard. His belly was round, his nose bulbous, hair cut close to his scalp. He had a stern look on his face, like he had been working in jail for far too long. "Winona Ramon?" he barked. "You've been bailed out." Maybe Ren decided not to let me rot in here. A smile spread across my face. I stood up too quickly, causing my head to swim and a dizzy spell to wash over me. I took a few deep breaths to steady the wave of nausea that crashed. I dared a glance behind me. The magic wielder's shoulders. "Next time, don't drink so much," the guard barked, snapping me out of my trance. "Maybe you won't end up in jail." "No shit," I murmured under my breath. He shot me a disapproving glare, smiled sweetly at it. He unlocked my cell. I grabbed me by the upper arm. The guards generally didn't care about what happened here in the slums. The Royal Guard didn't even bother coming here. We were the forgotten part of the city, closest to the towering walls that separated us from wastelands beyond. King Raha claimed that it was because we didn't pray enough, but I knew the rich simply liked to hoard their wealth. Even though we were the farmers, seamstresses, the help in the palace, or the blacksmiths, we were just a number to them. Children starved, people fought over supplies, theft was common, and everyone was doing their best to buy. The guard dragged me out of the cell towards freedom. Once he opened the heavy door leading to the front of the jail, the lack of vomit smell in the air felt like I was stepping into the veil. My stomach still churned, my head still pounded, but I wasn't surrounded by my vomit. I wasn't being watched by a magic. I glanced around the room for Ren, but I didn't see her. There were a few people here, likely searching for loved ones who had gone missing. That was common in the slums. The best place to look was in the jail's litter. "Who bailed me out?" I asked the guard. "That gentleman over there," the guard pointed to the far wall. Leaning against the wall was a man who was vaguely familiar, annoyingly handsome. His onyx hair was tousled, his eyes the color of emerald, one being a shade of purple and blue, bore into me. His arms were crossed, and the smirk on his face felt as though he were mocking. He had a straight nose and a proud jaw. His entire look seeped with arrogance, like he knew he was. "I don't know this man," I stated, debating whether I wanted to go back into the jail cell or to wait for Ren to bail me out instead. The man chuckled, low and, "You do. You just don't remember me." My cheeks heated, cursing myself for taking that last agave liquid shot. "Look, whatever happened last night," he laughed at the time, "a hearty sound, rich chocolate. You're cute when you're embarrassed." I squinted my eyes at him. "Watch it," snapped. His smirk turned into a smile, showing perfectly straight teeth, another rarity in the slums. "Do you want to sit here and argue with me in jail? Or do you want to argue with me while I walk you home? I can get home fine myself." I didn't want him to know where I lived. My general rule about men is never trust them. I've been hurt by them one too many times. "I know you can, Red." "Red? Well, your hair is red, obviously." but your spirit is full of fire. He pushed off the wall and walked into my personal space. I like it. His voice sultry. An image of last night flashed through my head. It was him and that damn smirk at the shade. I hated asking. What happened last night? If you let me walk you home, I'll tell you. Did I really need to know? No, but I really wanted. Swallowing my pride. Fine. Surprise flashed across his face briefly. I almost didn't catch it. The corner of his mouth twitched, looking smugly pleased with himself. Let's go then, waving a hand in front of him. Ladies first. Such a gentleman, I mumbled under my breath, fighting the urge to roll my eyes. Stepping outside, sunlight was too bright, but I welcomed it nonetheless. It was better than being in that cell. Guards in their black and red uniforms were everywhere. The search for magic wheel was in full swing. The streets near the jail were otherwise bare. City folk generally avoided areas where guards were present. While some people on the guard were decent, many others let the power go to their head. The perk of being tall is I have long legs. I can move quickly down the street. I needed out of here. Even though I wasn't doing anything wrong, I didn't like being around the guards. The man caught up with me quickly. He was a few inches taller, and he was keeping pace with me just fine. I frowned. I was hoping I'd lose him. My name is Malik. Just in case you wanted to not be strangers anymore. I plan on staying strangers, he stated. You say that now, trailed off, and laughed in tone. So you're going to tell me what I did last night, or do you just enjoy hearing yourself talk nonsense? Gritted out, anger spiking. You were drunk, he stated, grating on my final nerve. Malik, just tell me what I did. He smirked at me. I was at the Shade last night, and I saw a beautiful woman sitting at the bar. I approached her and asked her name. She refused to give it to me, so I called her Red. She got angry with me for it and said that if I didn't walk away, she'd punch me in the face. Of course, I didn't walk away. She intrigued me. I wanted to know more about the beautiful woman drinking alone at the bar. I wasn't alone. Right, your bartender. Ren, I informed. Okay, Ren. She seemed annoyed with you because you kept asking for shots. When I offered to buy one for you, she accused me of trying to, get into your pants. So you punched. Oh my God. I didn't want to apologize because I likely would have punched him while sober, but he did bail me out. I'm sorry for hitting you. No, I deserved it, he said with a laugh. Anyways, a guard was in the building. I winced at that. Those damn guards never came to the. Why was there one last night? Why did you bail me out? Curious. Because it was my fault you ended up in jail. I tried to stop the guard, insisting that I was fine, but he was persistent. He growled that last word. Thank you. I could manage to be civil for a moment. My head was pounding too hard for me to say anything snarky. I just wanted to be home and see Sue. The streets were busy here. People were crowding around various shops. There were food vendors who sold cooked and seasoned meats. Produce vendors, and Mariel's shop was around the corner. Mariel was an older woman who took care of the people in the slums. Everyone respected her. Nobody messed with her. She sold hand-me-down trinkets and clothes. I can make it home fine from here, I said, ignoring my stomach growling at the food smells around me. He answered my question. I didn't want to spend another one of my already miserable moments with him. To be able to read my mind, Malik grabbed my wrist and pulled me to a vendor who sold fresh bread. You need to put something in your stomach. I don't have any money on me. I have enough. I opened my mouth to argue, but he was already picking out a piece of bread with butter on it. He handed it to me and my mouth watered. I kept walking. I took a bite of the bread and nearly moaned. It was delicious. Warm, buttery, everything I needed right now. We rounded a corner, and I noticed a little girl who was skin and bones. She was sitting on the curb of the pathway, drawing in the dirt on the road with a stick. I stopped for a moment. She looked like she hadn't eaten in days. This bread was delicious, but I had food at home. I approached the girl and held out the bread to her. Are you hungry? I asked softly. She looked at the bread and then at me, nodding frantically. She grabbed the bread from my hand slowly and, scared I was going to take it away from her, she moved too fast. She took a slow bite, her eyes widened and tears welled in them. Who knew when she last experienced kindness? I had a soft spot. They didn't deserve what the slums, while those in the inner city got everything they needed and more. I took a step away, not able to handle any more emotion than that. That was kind of you, Malik said, with an admiration in his voice. It's what everyone should do. Kids are vulnerable, they need to be protected. He looked at the ground, a frown tugged at his lip. When he noticed I was looking at him, his face fell back into the calm expression he held so well. I wondered where he went a moment ago. I was too hungover to ask. I needed to get home and take off my clothes. You don't need to follow me home, I stated, a small amount of bitterness. He either didn't notice my snappiness in his voice or he didn't care. I want to make sure you don't fall face first in the dirt. I growled. I don't need some knight in shining armor taking care of me. I know you don't. Sure wasn't acting. I do. However, enjoy your company, regardless how grumpy it is. And I have nothing better going on right now. Did I have to spell it out for him? Look, I'm grateful you bailed me out, but we don't know each other, and we're going to keep it that. I just want to go home, and quite frankly, I don't want you to know where I live. He put a hand over his heart. Oh, Red, you wound me. Fuck off, he ground out. He laughed. Okay, I'll leave you to your sulking. I'm sure we'll be seeing each other again soon enough. With that, he walked away. Asshole. Under my breath. I kept walking briskly, and I turned the corner and saw the massive abandoned warehouse I called home. It was on an empty street, and few people wandered. I reached the stairs and climbed to the second story. The door creaked open, and I was met with a very loud, very angry meow. Soup was sitting in his usual spot, looking angry as ever that I wasn't here to personally feed him. I know Ren fed him. He was just trying to manipulate. Hi, Soup. I pet the spot behind his ear that he loves, and he calmed down. The metal floor groaned as I walked to the kitchen area. I grabbed some stale bread from the counter and shoveled it into my mouth. It was gross, dry and crusty. Nothing at all like the bread Malik had bought, but I didn't care at the moment. Next, I guzzled down some water, dripped down my chin and onto. I walked around the wall of the wooden crates covered in plants collected over the years. The crates were separating the kitchen and bedroom, and I stepped into the bathing area. Thankfully, this warehouse already had a living quarters, at least a kitchen area and a bathroom. I added the bedroom. I cleaned my teeth, splashed some water on my face, and got out of my clothes. Heading into the bedroom, Soup was already on the bed, kneading the blanket. I got into bed, feeling the soft sheets against my skin. It's like stepping into the veil. Soup stumped up to my body, curled up on my chest. I stretched my sore muscles. What a day! My mind wandered to that magic wielder, the older woman in the cell next to mine. She looked so defeated that a twinge of remorse hit me again. I shook the feeling off. If magic wielders remained in the city, the monsters from beyond the wall would continue to attack. Magic wielders were dangerous. You never know what you're going to get from them. My eyes drooped closed. The Soup, snuggled in my arms, drifted off.
That was well done. Like, yeah, it's like what Hopeless just said in the chat. Like, I loved how you just put your cat in the story. Like, as a matter of fact, I bet you, like, is the main character basically yourself, Bane?
No. I tried to separate um my personality from hers, because she's far more headstrong than I am, but the more I write her, the more I realize I relate to her.
Okay, but the cat is the cat, though. Like, you
The
put
cat is
Soup.
the cat.
That's
Yep, the cat is my cat. His
outstanding.
personality and all that.
Outstanding. Hopeless asks, did you find it easier to write in the first person? How do you find it having to be Winona while you write?
I really like writing in first person because I feel like it gives more perspective from one person versus just kind of with third person kind of guessing what other people feel. I um I like having one person front and center and showing their emotions fully and um being in their head completely. Um yeah.
No, it was great. Like for me, I was just wondering if it was just you because of the fact the cat was there. But okay, no, it's a different character, but the cat. Okay, cool. So if it's not yourself, like what inspired you to write the story and pick the character that you did? Like kind of where did that come from?
I just had an idea one day because I love reading, and I had an idea for a book that I wanted to read, but I couldn't find. So it was just like, you know what? Why don't I just create it myself? And I sat on the idea for a long time, like a year, until it really started to bug me. And then I just started to write around uh, October, and then I created one part of the story, didn't like it, and I started over.
Have you edited it a good deal?
Yes.
Okay, because it sounds polished. It does.
Yeah.
Like somebody spent some time like working on this and making sure that it's polished. I definitely think so. So yeah, like I was impressed. Like if anybody else has any questions, just drop them in the chat. So what was it like to read? What is it like to read if it's like a female main character?
Um, because I don't put on voices, except for maybe very slight minor changes if I can, I don't really think that about it being a female character. Although I did quite like the Winona, and maybe because I have read this chapter before, so I had a general just understand what personality was like. It really kind of comes through, I think, her personality and what she's like very early on in the book, so it's quite easy to kind of start reading a little bit more like her and embodying her character.
Being Bunny asks why you are so amazing.
Just I was born this way, bunny.
So you said romance. So like is that gonna be like the main driving plot, or is it just gonna be kind of like a side piece of what's going on?
Um, it it's a big part of the story, but it's not the primary part. It intertwines with the plot a lot and how um Winona moves forward with certain aspects of her challenges. Um, yeah. So,
What about the setting? Can you talk about the time period or like what cultures are influencing your world?
oh, I haven't thought about that. It's so in my mind, it's a big city that in the center of the city is where the royals live. It's where the rich people live. It's where um people thrive. But then there's the slums, which um is the forgotten part of the city essentially, and the king claims it's because they don't pray enough. Um, they don't worship hard enough. They don't go to the chapels enough. They don't um, do all the things that they need to do to please their god. And so that's why it's quote unquote why um, it's a bad area of the city. Um, yeah.
Were you raised religious or did you have friends? Like kind of like what shaped your kind of like where does that come from? Like that part of your story?
My dad was very religious and he tried to force it on me. Um, so I feel like I'm kind of taking some inspiration from that about having a religion forced on you that you don't necessarily believe in 100%, that you question frequently.
Yeah, like I could relate. So like I thought it was kind of cool like how you weaved it into the setting. So, you could like kind of allow like almost like your subconscious to speak about it as you write, like that's pretty cool. Is is Malik your type of man, Bean?
Um, I don't know. Um, I'm writing his personality kind of like I would, like something like that, just kind of a little shit. Pardon my French.
What do you think that people who know you will be most surprised about when they read the story?
The smut.
Oh, okay, so you're answering his question too. So that there will be spicy scenes. Wait, 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 wait,
Absolutely.
wait, wait. People that know you will be surprised that there's level at the level of smut. Like, what are we talking about here? It's gonna be
Um,
epic.
it's gonna be beautiful. Um, I've made jokes about how, because my mom wants to read it, and, um, I've made jokes about how the spicy scenes are just gonna she's going to have a separate version of the story where it's just and they held hands and everything faded to black.
I would be very nervous if my mom was gonna read something that I wrote and it had sex scenes. And I would be very nervous. Um,
Oh, absolutely.
if anybody else has any questions, let's see. Like, yeah, like definitely though about the like you could tell that it's been edited. It's like it's an interesting story. I think you have an interesting premise. Like you can kind of pretty much take this whichever direction you want, but like I think it's a pretty cool first chapter.
I've been having a lot of fun writing what I have written so far. Um, I've had a couple people read it and I have made them cry, which is the ultimate accomplishment as a writer is to bring out those feelings, in my opinion. Um, so yeah, I'm just excited to move forward with my story and come up with because I'm not planning. I have the main beats. I know how it's going to end. I know the twists and the turns, but getting there, I'm kind of letting the story write itself. And I've been having a lot of fun doing that.
I think it's really cool too that like you're totally taking your time writing it, like not rushing to put it up wherever maybe you're gonna put it up. It's just you're writing it first. I think that's great for just you and the creativity, but it's also good for just now. Then you'll just have the whole thing written, and then you could do whatever you want with it. Bunny asks, "What is the level of technological development in your world, and is any of it displaced by magic?"
Um, I would say that there isn't much for technology. Uh, this definitely takes place in more I don't I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure um about like time frames and whatnot. But it would be more like medieval times where swords are used, there's no electricity. Yeah.
So fire says that they use crossbows or bows. Okay, that's cool. Like I dig it. I thought it was a very interesting read. Um, yeah, I would look forward to following along if this got posted somewhere. So okay, if there are no further questions, that will conclude today's Gemcast. Is there any? Do you want to say anything before we end?
I just appreciate that people are interested in it. I did this to help motivate me to write more, and I definitely am feeling that. I think I'm gonna get off of this out of the Gemcast and start writing again. It's been a
That's
while.
awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. Like I think you should be proud of your story, and I look forward to hearing about how it ended up finishing. So with that, that concludes today's Gemcast.